Hey everybody, Superfluous Jay here with a new series. That's right, I'm playing Kerbal Space Program, as I have many times. This is actually a replay of a challenge I put out on the forums a couple years ago called the No Contract Career Challenge. It kind of took a while to get some traction, but it ended up a thread of the month. And my entry for it always sparked a little bit of controversy because I dared get all the science from around Kerbal Space Center without actually putting the work in to put the science around Kerbal Space Center. The work is boring, the work is bland, the work is very easy. I just didn't feel like doing it. I didn't have any problem with it, but everybody who commented on it did. And I'm not going to get into that argument again. If you want to see it, go to the forum page. If though you want to see me do it again without getting that science, even to the point where I can't get that science, watch this series instead. The idea behind the challenge is that you need to completely upgrade the Space Center without ever taking a contract. You only get World First contract points. You can also get administration building things, and you can get you can return ore and things like that. But you can't just drill and convert ore to monoprop on the launch pad and then recover it until you get the money. You have to actually go out and do things. I am going to try to do this without using admin strategies, without using ore at all, and without getting any science from the Kerbal Space Center. What I'm showing you here is this is a mod called I don't remember what it's called. I think it's called Celestial Body Science Editor or something like that. And what I've done is I've taken landed science for Kerbin and set it down to 0.01. It's normally, I believe, 1. That means anything I do get around here, if I were to get a surface sample from the Astronaut Complex, it's going to be worth 1/10 what it normally is worth. So I'm not even going to bother trying because this encourages me to not do it. Also, I have another mod installed, which is one I wrote myself, which turns every planet into a single biome. There's only one biome on every planet. Now, sadly, all these biomes are still here. I couldn't get rid of them. That's why I set the surface samples, or the science to 1 or 0.1 returns. But like if I land over here and do a surface sample, that's going to be the surface of Kerbin. And then that's it. I'm never going to be able to get a surface sample from Kerbin ever again. Same thing with Moon, same thing with Midmas, same thing with every planet out there. So that's going to be an interesting thing. Thirdly, I am going to do this as quickly as possible from your perspective. I'm not going to show you building ships. I'm not going to show you anything along those lines. I'm just going to do the missions. So I've actually done these missions before, and I've made the ships, and I just have them ready for me to go. So I'm going to show you basically how I'm doing it, and then we're going to just get through this as quickly as possible, which means we'll get out there into space as quickly as possible. I also have 4 science installed, which means I just get science and I don't have to actually put any work into it. If you have a problem with that, I don't know what to tell you, because I'm definitely not going to do that. See, now we get the Launchpad EVA report, and then we also get it from Kerbin's surface. And then we hop back in here, and then we get it Launchpad, and then we get the crew report. If we look here, the reviewed science data, the Mystery Goo observation gives us 1 science point. The EVA report gives us 0.8 science. This gives me 0.5, so I'm getting a lot less science than I normally would, just so you know. And it looks like I forgot to do this part, so let's go ahead and just launch out here. You do get separate splashed and landed. I don't think this is going to have the chops to make it splash, although it actually looks like it might. I'm gonna try for splash. No, I don't think it's gonna make it. I don't wanna kill Bob before he even has a chance to partake in the program. So we're not gonna get any splashed science here. We did get the flying stuff though, which is nice. Yeah, and then we get more mystery goo from the surface and things like that. So I don't think there's anything else for him to get out here, but I guess he can do the victory jump to get science from flying. And then we can recover. That gets us 28 science. We got a ton of funds for all the things we did. If you look here at the world first, this is the only things I'm ever going to see here. And also if I deploy the science things. But I get all this money and some science for doing all these things, and I'm never going to get this again because this is the first time I get these things. So that's important to remember as well. As far as this is concerned, we need more science. We're going to just pick these things up as quickly as we can get them. We only have 8.7 science left, so I'm going to pick this up too, just so I have a rocket engine. Okay, meet the Space One. This ship's entire job is to get into space. It's got Jeb in it as opposed to Bob, who was in the last one, because I need a little bit of control. So let's head up there and get going. Now we're going to tip over just a little bit so we don't drop anything on the launch pad. And I haven't upgraded any facilities or anything. I just bought the science I could. Oh boy, we do not have the control that I want, but that's okay. We're gonna have a swivel here in a second. There we go. Now we have the control I want. This guy is gonna end up being more and more front heavy as time goes on. Oh boy, I am out of practice. There we go. Yeah, this guy, I'm draining fuel out of the front fuel tanks first, which is generally a terrible idea. But there's a reason for that. I'm just going to observe the mystery goo here. Jeb can take it out, but he can't reset it because he's not a scientist. So we're going to cruise on up to space, and then we're going to look into upgrading the Astronaut Complex so that Jeb can hop out and get some EVA reports. I'm going to save about 100 meters per second, and let's get back to the Space Center. Okay, the Astronaut Complex takes 7,500, definitely worth it. Get this, and I believe this is, yeah, that's already been removed. So he just got his EVA report from above Kerbin's surface. As I said before, that's the only EVA report he can get. Fast forward until we're coming back down into the atmosphere. Hop on out one more quick time to get upper atmosphere EVA report. Why not? And now this is going to be a little harrowing, but it shouldn't be too bad. We're only going 13,000 meters per second. And what we've got here is we've got a drogue chute and 2 regular parachutes. And what I'm hoping is that will be enough to slow down the entire thing so that we can recover the entire ship. If not, I will drop the rest of the ship. No problem. I have no problem ditching all this expensive stuff if I have to. And I'm saving a little bit of fuel, to put a little bit of weight in this bottom part so it stays bottom heavy, and also to give it a little bit of thrust right at the end. And yeah, sorry. Oh, that's about as that's about as fast as we can get it. Okay, well, hop on out there, Jeb. Nice suit you got going. We get the extra stuff for being splashed at Kerbin's surface. So let's recover this. And we got a ton more science. We got a lot of money, and Jeb has an XP, but I don't think he actually gets anything. We got all these other milestones, which are nice. But now we can get even more science, including the Science Junior, which is a biggie. We can, this doesn't have any real science in it. This doesn't have any real science in it. And this doesn't have any real science in it. So really what we want is this guy. And I need to really kind of look at the other ship and see what it is. So I'll tell you what, I'm going to do all this research and I'll meet you on the launch pad with the next ship. Okay, and that next ship is called the Orbit 2. In my previous recordings, I was able to get into, or I was able to get to orbit with the parts I had, but for some reason I got less science this time. So then I had to make an Orbit 2, but I was able to skip it now, so I'm doing better. And this is bringing Bob and Jeb together up into space and into orbit. Needs a pretty quick turn over to 10 degrees just to start. Because this engine here is very strong. And then we just need to follow it. Prograde. Normally I would lock to prograde, but Jeb doesn't know how to do that yet. Okay. Now notice our apoapsis is at 26. I'm gonna coast until we're at 45 before I hit the spacebar, just to get us slightly out of the thicker atmosphere, and also give the I believe it's a Reliant now. Oh no, it's a Twitch actually. So I should probably go right now then, because he's not as strong. I thought this was a Reliant or a Twitch, but it's not. Or sorry, a Reliant or a Swivel, but it's not. But we're still fine. The apoapsis altitude is going up still. And it's just a leisurely stroll into orbit now. I'm going to keep up my looking for my milestones, which is I don't want to be at 30 until this is at 30, which it already is. I don't want to be at 20 until this guy's at 40, and I don't want to be at 10 until he's at 50. But as long as we're around there, I'm just gonna follow the prograde marker. Because while I want to make sure I get a lot of sideways velocity, I don't want to sacrifice my my vertical velocity to do so. Yeah, we got our apoapsis at 50 now, so we can come down to here and just chill. Okay, I cut the engines with my apoapsis at 75. I don't want it to be too high. And because we have a scientist on board, I don't need to do any science. It just is happening, which is fantastic. When we get really close to apoapsis, Jeb's going to hit the gas to bring periapsis up. Apparently I want to burn down to bring apoapsis back. There we go. 73 by 76. We are now in orbit, and we have 233 meters per second to spare. We'll tilt this guy. I'd rather be facing north. We're going to tilt this guy so he's north, so that as we hop in and out, not that we're going to do it that much, but as we do hop in and out, it will be even to things. Now what I want to do here is we've gotten an EVA report from over, in space over water. What I'm wondering is if we'll get one in space over land, and the answer is no. We do not get one in space over land. It's just the surface, so that's nice to know. Okay, now it's time to get back home, and ideally we'd want to land near Kerbal Space Center. It's not hugely important, but I'm gonna time warp to say here, and I have my warp everywhere mod installed, which means I can time warp quickly. And that's probably good. Then we're going to set our periapsis to, we're going to go retrograde. Then we're going to set our periapsis to, say, 30. And see where that ends up putting us. I've just turned the computer off. We are steady to the forward location, so I'm actually going to kick away the other stage because I don't want it anymore. And I would rather we're aerodynamically stable backwards. There's the moon. That's going to be our next target here very soon. We have one other mission. We're going to do all the missions that give you money are going to get done. In particular, we're going to actually let me turn the computer on and lock this thing retrograde because he's not being very cooperative here. But we're going to do all the rendezvous 2 ships, dock 2 ships, transfer crew between 2 ships. We're going to do all those things just to get the extra money. Well, not the extra money, the money. The only money we're going to get in this game. And then we're going to also, well, you'll see. You'll see. I have a plan. I'm much like the Cylons in Battlestar Galactica. I'm not going to tell you my plan, and the writers probably don't even know my plan, but I have a plan. Okay, we didn't quite make it to Kerbal Space Center, but we did make it to Kerbal Continent, which I'm going to call that a success. I don't know where my other piece of my ship went. Oh, there it is. It's gotten much closer. Let's actually check it out in map mode. It's closer to Kerbal Space Center, but it also is not going to make it that far. But Jeb and Bob are. And there it goes. All dead. Okay. Let's put it in surface mode here. We're only a couple hundred meters off the ground. But there we go. And we do get more temperature scans and stuff just because they're still worth something. But notice we don't get an EVA report or a surface sample or anything like that. But we got 109 science, we got 167,000 funds, and we got some rep as well, which is never bad. Oh, okay, it's a new day. It's a new ship, and Bob is ready to launch the Orbit 3A, which can't turn on SAS, into orbit. He's going first, and much like the last ship, he's going to crank it down to as hard as he can to the right, and he's just basically going to crank this thing down to the right until the solid is gone. These fins are here specifically to keep him from doing anything stupid. And then I'm going to have to ride him like a Bronco up into orbit. He has plenty of Delta V to make up for the fact that he can't steer. But other than that, this is basically the ship that we sent up last time with both of them, with a lot less mass because it's just Bob. So we shouldn't have much more problems than we had last time, except for the fact that Bob can't steer. So when we get to here, we're going to do this. He has a lot more thrust than the other ship had. He also has a lot less control than the other ship had. But we should be fine. And without much ado, Bob makes it into orbit. 79 by 86. That's really not a bad orbit, Bob. Now, if you notice, he has a docking port on his ship. That was the whole purpose of this vessel. He's also still got over 800 meters per second in the tank, which is nice. But now it's time to head back down to the Space Center and see if we have the funds to upgrade the tracking station. We do, but that will leave us with only $7,000 left. And Orbit 3B costs $6,000. So this is going to be very close. So close that I'm going to drop a named save. Because if this does screw up, we're going to have $0 and I'm basically lost the game. So, Jeb, it's up to you. Thankfully, Jeb can hold prograde now. He's also launching backwards, which is different than we would normally do. He's launching with his back to the ground, basically. The reason for that is the parachute drag is going to pull him that way anyway. So I wanted him to be naturally facing that way. Okay, now we have a time to apoapsis, which is really nice. That's going to help us decide things. We always want to keep our time to apoapsis around 50 seconds. 50 to 60 seconds. Never more than a minute. Ideally never less than 50 seconds once you get up to it. And then as long as we're gaining time, I'm going to pitch down. I'm watching my time to reach here. I'm just trying to put as much fuel into extending our orbit and less fuel into raising our apoapsis, because our apoapsis is already pretty high. Don't really want it to go under 50. If it does, I'll pitch up a little bit. But it's probably going to be pegged at 50 now. Okay. There we go. Throttle down to 1/3, and it's now going back down, which is perfect. When it gets down to 50, I'll throttle it back up to 1/3, or to 2/3, I should say. Trying to be as efficient as is reasonably possible to do. Okay, we are now in space, which is nice. Jeb can't make a maneuver node, but he is able to accelerate up when he gets here. And he can also make Bob a target, which is nice. Now, his periapsis and Bob's periapsis are exactly the same spot, which is really nice. So they can meet here, is the idea. Bob's apoapsis is his periapsis. So what I want to do is I want to get Jeb's apoapsis over here above 75, but below 86. That's my goal for Jeb. Yeah, because I guess we'll meet around here, which isn't ideal, but it's what you get, right? Then we need to change our tilt with relation to Bob. Looks like we're off by 5.5 degrees. So I think I should be able to warp to here. I guess I can't. That's interesting. It doesn't give me the option to warp to, even though it's not a maneuver node thing, but Yeah, they are off by a terrible amount. I did a really bad job. But anyway, Jeb, tell you what, let's face Jeb north. And that should be pretty close. 0.2, yeah, that's fine. Okay, now Jeb's orbit could definitely be a little lower here. So I think, let's see, this is where the sun rises. So I think right here is a good place to do this. What we want to do here is we're nearing our apoapsis, which is actually the worst time to do this. We want to do this at our periapsis. We need to bring our apoapsis down so that we're going faster than Bob. Because now our apoapsis actually matches his. So then we can warp here. This is rendezvousing when you don't have maneuver nodes. Because we got to get the rendezvous in order to get enough money to get maneuver nodes. And I want my periapsis to be as low as possible, yet still in the atmosphere, or still out of the atmosphere, which is basically that. Okay, turn the computer off. And now it's just a whole bunch of warps until we get closer. Now you see, now as soon as I pass this orange marker here, next time we're a little bit closer. So it's just a bunch of orbits until we get close enough to actually match up, and Jeb will do that match up by speeding up. As soon as we pass this, we should be close enough. There we go. Now, if Jeb goes prograde, I think it's this orbit. It might be the next one though. Yeah, it's the next one. So turn the computer off and we'll go to the next orbit. Now we want Jeb to go prograde. Oh, that's because I'm doing target prograde, not orbit prograde. Grr. There we go. There we go. 2 kilometers. That'll be enough to get our rendezvous. Okay, and we just got the rendezvous achievement, which is nice. Now I want to be in target mode. But I want to be target retrograde. Just getting there isn't enough. We need to dock. This music always makes me think of Indiana Jones. The first Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark, where he like where he's in the Well of Souls. It just makes me think of that music. Okay, we are now close enough to kill our velocities. With Bob, that'll be interesting. Actually, I'm starting to think maybe I shouldn't kill my velocity with Bob. Maybe I should do this all with Jeb, just because he has the ability to lock onto a target. And we're going to, speaking of locking onto a target, we're going to go into locked mode. Go up this way. Okay, I'm going to hit F5 to quick save. Going to aim right at Bob. Set this as our target. Might as well get everything exact. Control from here. That should be good enough. I don't really want to screw around with Bob's ship if I can avoid it. And it might take a little bit of roly-poly here because I've got the thing set. There we go. Boom. We have docked and SAS is off, which is good. Now what I want to do here is I want Bob to get out. And I want Jeb... Apparently, oh, there we go. Transfer into this pod. Boom, we've done our docking maneuver and a crew transfer. We're going to switch to Bob, who's going to also crew transfer just so Jeb doesn't have to go back. And now, time to go home. I want, he has almost no electric charge. He has a lot of electric charge, which is exactly what we want. We also want to transfer fuel, which sadly isn't an option. So let's actually drop another save here. 01 orbit. And Space Center. I don't know what I need to do to enable fuel transfer offhand. That's action groups. I think it might be R&D, which is going to be, yeah, that's going to be a long time before R&D is available. So we're just going to have the fuel we have in the ship, and that's just going to be it. What I'm doing here is Jeb's going to stay in orbit. Bob's going to come home, but Jeb's going to stay in orbit. The reason is there's no need for him to, and then that ship that he's in can actually go up to, can go up to Moon to do the rendezvous transfer and crew transfer up there with our moon ship. But that is next time, because I have officially run out of ships and I need to build some more. So I hope you enjoyed watching this. I definitely enjoyed playing it. I am Superfluous J, and I will, as always, talk at you later.